So you've gone into the control room and opened up after a complaint of bad sound from the control room monitors, and you open up the speaker and this is what you see. Oh, oopsie. It's a JBL with a foam surround that's no longer surrounding. One of our most popular studio monitor speakers, the JBL 4301B, does have a problem that after so many years, the woofer just falls apart, the surround. So, what are you going to do? You're going to send it out and have it repaired at about $100 a pop for each speaker? Or are you going to save your company some money and do it in-house? So in my case, in order to save time, or I think to save time, maybe, I decided to go ahead and order some free foaming kits offline or online and see what happens. And this is what I got. 2 foam surrounds, 2 dust covers, 8 shims, or actually 16 shims, blue shims and white shims, and instructions and a bottle of glue. So I thought the instructions were a bit on the lacking side as far as how to, and especially for somebody that hasn't done this before like myself, but I tried to throw some common sense in that, and for better or worse, we'll see how it works. Here are some other items I assembled to assist with the speaker repair. Of course, the screwdriver to take the speaker in and out, and a couple dental picks, mirror, we may not need that, and a syringe or something like that that you can apply some acetone with will be helpful, and a duster of some sort, or compressed air. Also, special note, I do not recommend blow-off dusters, but that's a story for a different time. That's what I have. I didn't order it, I got it, and I had to pay for it. Matter of fact, I stole the money, but that's a story for a different time. And a clean workspace. You do need a clean workspace, and we'll change the towel down there as time progresses. Okay, so we start by getting the speaker out. Loose, pull it out, disconnect it. Keep the magnet away from any credit cards if you want to stay able to use them. Now that we have the speaker out, the next step is to start cleaning out all the old foam. The way I'm doing this, I'm using the dental pick for the most part to run around the outside and pull up the surrounds, trying not to gouge this gasketing material right here, and getting it loosened up. Find I have to go around the outer edge and underneath, and there's a little lip in there that doesn't want to come loose. Once we have the outer gasket off, then we can start removing the glue that held the outer gasket down and the foam surround. This speaker looks like it may have been refoamed once before by somebody else, or even rebuilt by somebody else, because the glue is way heavier than what I saw on the earlier speaker. Yes, no, I'm not showing you the first one I redid. Well, I will show you the first one I redid. It came out just fine. But we do practice before we put it on video. On this one, a lot of this glue on the outer edge is pulling up by hand. I did not find that on the earlier speakers, but I'm all for pulling up as much by hand as I can before I get into the hard part, which is the scraping down of that. This cleanup right here is the most troublesome part of the whole process. Another tool I'm using that wasn't in the picture is a good old trusty buck knife. I kind of forgot that one, but it comes in handy scraping this glue off. If we find we want to soften the glue up just a little dampening with some acetone will do that quite nicely. Give it just a minute or so to soak in and start doing its work, and it'll dissolve out of the way just shortly after. Okay, now that the outer rim is cleaned up and looks halfway decent, the next thing gonna go after is where the foam attached to the speaker cone. So what I do to do that is I'll turn the speaker over and I'll loosen that up with a little bit of acetone. I'll just squirt a little bit of acetone on there. After the acetone's had just a minute or two to work, I'll start picking at it and see if I can get underneath the glue. Sometimes a fingernail or a finger rub seems to work pretty good at getting the stuff off. And it comes off pretty easy. This doesn't take too long. Okay, just after a few minutes there, you can see we can get that all cleaned off, and that looks good. And the main thing there is to be very careful not to rip the cone or damage the cone. For the next step, we'll clean up the workspace and get it all ready to go again. And for this place, you notice we haven't removed the dust cover yet. And there's a reason we save it for last, is because you don't want anything getting down inside the voice coil. So we get everything clean, especially make sure we've got nothing, metal shavings or filings around the area. That will be very detrimental. Okay, again with the acetone. Run it right around the ring of the dust cover. Some of the instructions say you can do this without opening the dust cover, but I just don't, especially being inexperienced, I don't trust it without shimming the speaker to not have a rub. Once the acetone's had a chance to work, then we'll come back and pick at it here and see if we can get inside the dust cover. This one is obviously not the original factory dust covers like the others I've removed, because it's crumbling very quickly and the others did not do that. Okay, so for this one we just actually cut a little access hole in here. We're just going to work it around. Lift the dust cover out. The others up till now had come out pretty much intact without any problems. Once we made sure it's all nice and clean, we'll go ahead and insert the shims to hold the voice coil centered around the magnet, so that when we put it all back together, it doesn't rub. If it rubs, you get to do it all over again. With the shims in place, it's now time to slip the surround back there. Now notice on these JBL speakers, the surround goes behind the cone. On a lot of them it goes in front, but for the JBLs it goes behind. Now lift the speaker up on the shims. The shims will pretty much hold the speaker in place, usually. We can add an extra shim if we need to. Now I'll lay in a bead of glue. Make sure the tip's clean so it doesn't get glue all over the place. I'll lay in a bead of glue on the inside of the foam. While I was doing that, I had the speaker cone pulled up on the shims. The shims were supporting it, so the foam's not attached to anything yet. Remember these things? Wow. Now that we don't have heads around anymore, we may not use them as much. I figure they make a good glue spreader, and they do. So I spread the glue evenly around on the inside of the foam. Okay, after I've given it a little time for the glue to get tacky, I'll pull the blue shims out of the way. That's going to let this relax a little bit. And then go ahead and take the cone down into the foam. And then we'll go around with a finger on both sides and make sure they're nice and well seated. Want to work the speaker edge right into the corner of the foam, or at least I think you do. I'll go all the way around doing that. Okay, now that they've sat up for an hour or so to dry, I just placed this on there to just double check the fit, and everything looks good. The final gasket, what we're going to do is go ahead and do the coup de grace and glue down the foam. We'll run a, like before, we'll run a nice bead around here underneath the lip. And we'll come back and use the handy dandy head cleaner to spread the glue around. Yes, I'm actually putting glue underneath there. Should have probably pulled this up first. Looks a little light. We'll do a little more. Once I got a good bead of glue in there, I'll go ahead and bring this down. press the foam into place on the glue. Notice that the shims are still in place. We don't get rid of the shims for a little bit longer. Then we'll set in another little round, or I'll set in another little round of glue. For the gasket. Oops, clean the glue off our fingers. Would be nice if we make sure the gasket holes line up. We place the gasket out near the outer edge so that it's not telling the foam where to go. We want the foam to fit where it wants to fit on the center of the speaker. Now for the coup de grace. After it's the glue's had plenty of time to dry, in this case I just went away and now it's the next day, so 24 hours later we're going to pull the shims. Once the shims are out of the way, just give it a quick feel, make sure it's floating freely, and it is. And at that point we're going to put in the dust cover. Again, we want to keep it clean the whole time around this speaker. I cover it with a paper towel to make sure nothing gets in there that can mess up that voice coil. So, start with the glue. This one didn't clean up as well as the others around the edge because this glue that was in this one, unlike the other glues, didn't respond to acetone. This one was definitely, you can see, I could see the writing on it. It had been rebuilt before for some reason. So we'll apply it right around this inner edge. I may add a little extra mass to the speaker, but I wonder what kind of glue they're using here. To me this looks like Elmer's glue all. Kind of smells like Elmer's glue all. Elmer's glue all, back when I was young, that was what I always used for speaker glue, so it could be, or it could be some derivative. Or something else. We take our dust cap. So right there in the center. Since this one didn't fill in, it didn't really poop the glue out. It is sealed in there pretty good, but just to make it look better, why don't we just run one more bead around the outer edge. And voila, there it is. Now, let's see how it did. Okay, the speakers are now reconed and have been reinstalled into the cabinets in a control room. Don't worry about how the The boxes look a little rough on these. Of course, they went through a fire at one time, but you know, then we have to get to the final test. Let's see how it goes. Okay, that's it. They're sounding great.